A machine may have pardoned the president's own family. House Oversight Chairman James Comer has just launched an investigation into Joe Biden's alleged use of an Autopen, a robotic signature device, to issue last-minute presidential pardons for members of his own family. And what's at stake? Presidential integrity, mental capacity, and the rule of law itself. Welcome to Nelly Miranda. Before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe as it really helps support the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update.
The Autopen is becoming a very big deal. You know, the Autopen is becoming a big deal because it seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the Autopen. But when they say that that was not good, they also, you have to look and you have to say that the test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed.
Did Biden's aides pull a fast one? House Republicans are now investigating Biden's use of an Autopen. They're questioning whether his executive actions were legit. Republicans are zeroing in on many last-minute pardons. They say Biden might not have been fully in charge. The allegation, unelected aides were calling the shots. The Trump Justice Department is even looking into Biden-era pardons. House Oversight Chairman James Comer plans to subpoena former Biden aides. He believes they coordinated the Autopen's use. Republicans are focusing on Biden's final days in office, specifically pardons granted to high-profile people. Were these decisions really Biden's? Researchers say at least 32 clemency warrants were signed with the Autopen. Trump claims aides might have used it to push through lenient immigration policies, all without Biden's knowledge.
According to Comer, these Autopen signed pardons were executed during Biden's final days in office. So not for staffers or non-violent offenders, but for his own family. His brother James Biden, son Hunter Biden, sister Valerie Biden Owens, sister-in-law Sarah Jones Biden, brother-in-law Jones Owens, and reportedly another Biden brother named Francis.
Investigation into Biden's use of the Autopen. Chairman Comer joins us now with the latest. All right, Chairman, you got your hands full. Tell us first about what you announced earlier today about what you're doing with the Autopen, because I do some work with the Oversight Project. They were on this early, but you are going and looking at who was controlling this Autopen, because Joe Biden, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah. That's hard evidence. Early into President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline. It questions who was actually making the decisions. So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient. Many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the Autopen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the Autopen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the Autopen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
Yeah, this is more than bad optics. It's a constitutional breakdown. And if these pardons were signed without Biden's knowledge, we're in dangerous legal territory. Now, let's be clear. The Autopen isn't new. We know this. Presidents have used it for ceremonial letters and low priority documents. But pardons? That's a different beast entirely. You cannot outsource moral responsibility to a machine, especially when the recipients are your relatives, some even criminals, etc.
President Trump says the former president used an Autopen, and he said that voids the pardons. Now, he's officially referencing a preemptive pardon for the members of the bipartisan House committee who investigated the January 6th Capitol riot. However, the Justice Department has previously stated a president doesn't have to physically sign a bill saying the use of an Autopen is valid.
See, Trump's argument is simple. If Biden didn't personally authorize these pardons while fully cognizant, then they're not valid. And frankly, he's right, because the poor man had zero idea what was going on. And as if his presidency wasn't bad enough, they just added fuel to the fire. But here's where it gets even more concerning. The Autopen controversy doesn't stand alone. It's part of a much bigger picture, one where Biden's mental fitness is repeatedly in question.
Josh Hawley joins us with more. Am I overstating it when I say this is the biggest White House presidential scandal in history?
No, I don't think so, Sean. And listen, I'll tell you something that I haven't said before because it came from a Secret Service whistleblower this past year. I talked to so many of them after the attempted assassinations of President Trump. But this Secret Service whistleblower actually was assigned to Biden, and he told me that Biden used to get lost in his closet in the mornings in the White House. I mean, the guy literally stumbling around in the White House residence couldn't find his way out of his own closet. The president of the United States. I mean, this is outrageous. We were lied to. And Sean, you know as well as I do, the press has a huge role in this. I mean, the press actually is really important in America. They're supposed to report the truth. It's what you do every night. It's not what the liberal media did, though. They sold this country out for years, and they did it for power, and they need to be held accountable as well.
Lost in a closet. I mean, I know the closet is big, but damn it. How big can it be that you are lost in a closet, confused, disoriented, and needing handlers to redirect you in a closet? Like, this is not French conspiracy. This came from a sitting senator and a Secret Service whistleblower. So if Biden wasn't mentally present, how could he responsibly authorize anything, let alone legal clemency? And of course, the White House has denied any wrongdoings. In a press briefing, they claimed that President Biden was mentally fit and fully involved in all executive orders. But they've never released a full neurological report. They've dodged direct questions about Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or the president's prescription drug use. If this were any other president, especially President Trump, the media would be frothing at the mouth, demanding daily medical updates. But for Biden, they don't even blink at a machine signing pardons for his family, or anyone else for that matter. Some legal scholars are beginning to question whether an Autopen can satisfy the constitutional act of the president. And if this theory gains traction, we're potentially looking at revoked pardons, federal litigations, and congressional hearings all 2025.
Well, what about this idea that there was more activity, Autopen activity, in the last 100 days than there were in the first 3.5 years? Or a staffer saying, well, if he's reelected, we'll let him, we'll put him in hiding and bring him out every once in a while to show proof of life. That's not very reassuring. That sounds to me like people fully understood that they were going to be in power and in control, and he was not. That to me is a constitutional crisis.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the worst constitutional crises of our country's history, and we've just lived through it. I'd like to know. We need to find out who actually signed off, so to speak, on all of those Autopen signatures, on all of those pardons, all of those clemencies. You remember, Sean, who he pardoned and who he granted clemency to in the final months of his presidency after they lost the election. I mean, it's an unbelievable rogues gallery of crooks and criminals and terrible people, rapists and others. I mean, who actually was doing that? We know it wasn't Biden. He didn't know anything about it. So, yeah, we've got to figure out who was actually in charge, because it sure as heck wasn't Joe Biden. And I just come back to the fact that the media knew this. They knew it. They lied about it. They betrayed us, Sean. They betrayed this country. They sold this country out for their own political power. These people can never be trusted again. And they need to be held accountable as much as anybody else.
So, we can laugh about the absurdity of it all, but the implications are no joke. The White House shielded a mentally impaired president and issued family pardons via a machine. That is not politics. This is a cover-up. The American people deserve answers. James Comer is pushing for transparency. Congress is demanding documentation. And if Biden can't walk us through the decisions that he supposedly made, then someone else was running the White House and is dead ass wrong. It's so infuriating and honestly terrifying because everyone sees the corruption, the fraud, and the blatant abuse of power, and yet no one ever pays the price. No handcuffs, no accountability, just more proof that we are living under a two-tier justice system, and it's disgusting. So what do you think? Should Autopen signed pardons be allowed? Was Biden mentally competent to issue them? And should Congress immediately block Autopen usage for any future pardons? Let me know in the comments. And if you are just as outraged as I am, make sure you like and subscribe so we can continue following the story. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.